welcome back to a new YouTube video. If you're new around here, my name's Katie. I'm a full-time sketchbook artist and I have some very exciting Japanese art supplies to share with you today. So my twin sister and brother-in-law recently went to Japan and it was actually my dad's idea for them to do a mystery art supply haul for me. So there is an amazing shop out there called Sekaido that I visited in Tokyo when I went on my honeymoon last year. You can see what it's like here, 7 floors filled with art stuff, and it's literally an artist's heaven. So I asked my sister to go in there for me and to buy some supplies that I have absolutely no idea what they are. So I gave her free rein, although I did give her a steer on the brands because the Japanese art supply brands out there are so much cheaper than here in the UK. So I gave them the brands and I gave them a budget, but otherwise I have absolutely no idea what's in here. So let's take a look at my new mystery art supplies and I hope you enjoy watching. So here are the supplies that my sister bought. So very excited to open that, and she also got me this. So let's take everything out of the packaging so I don't annoy you with all the rustling and we can see what we have. Ooh. Okay, so I did give her some pointers in terms of brands because the Japanese ones are obviously going to be cheaper over there. So I told her about Holbein and I told her about Kuretake. That was helpful for her to know which brands to go for. And then there's also this one. So let's start here. I'm going to try and swatch most of these. Probably not these pencils, but we'll come on to that. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm excited because new art supplies. But let's start here. So she picked these up. I think she said these were from Daiso. Now these are interesting. They are called water paints, dusty colour. There were 12 in here. Oh, okay. So reading this, I was expecting watercolour, but this definitely doesn't look like watercolour to me. Maybe it is. It looks more like gouache. We'll have to give those a try. Some really nice colours there though. So they obviously have shade names on. Dusty colours, I'm presuming kind of just means pastel. Really nice. Let's see what the consistency of these are. So I'm going to grab my sketchbook and we'll open them up. Okay, so I'll start from the left. I can't read Japanese, so I have no idea on these colours. Let's see what they're like. So I kind of just have to squeeze it out. But that's kind of hard. Let's see how they react with the water. Definitely feels more like gouache. I've done quite a big swatch there. It's kind of hard to just get a few out. Yeah, definitely not, I would say not watercolour, more like gouache. I'll do a test as well just to see how they react once they're dry. So let's just do a big swatch page. I'm going to go a little bit smaller than this, otherwise I'll have no space on my spread. They're quite transparent, as in they're not super thick, but I can get some nice colours, but I would say that they're pretty translucent. Okay, so these are them all swatched out. There's definitely some that felt more transparent than the other ones. The darker ones definitely felt like they were thicker, which was nice, but some of them were quite thin. Definitely easier to take from the tube as well. But yeah, I really like this colour palette set. Some are definitely brighter. This one feels almost neon compared to like the dusty colours of the other ones. And these are kind of similar too. But I can definitely see these working in the landscape, so that's really fun to see. And yeah, I'll probably just use these alongside my gouache. Let's actually see if they are like gouache and see if it re-wets. Okay, yeah, a little bit. Probably not as much as like the Winsor & Newton gouache, the designer's gouache, but you can definitely reactivate them. So I would say these are gouache and like they're not acrylic or anything. So perfect for my gouache collection. So thank you, Law. They're by Sunnote, but I know she said that they were very reasonably priced. And now let's move on to the other brands that I definitely do know of. So we've got various ones here. Now, I was thinking that she'd just buy individual tubes, but she went with some multi-packs, which I totally understand because she's not an artist, so I know it would have been very overwhelming to just see these shells of colour. She very kindly filmed some bits for me, which was so lovely. Her and her husband were filming some clips for this YouTube video. So you can see them here. They are vertical, so I'll just put a couple on the screen. Very, very sweet, putting them into her basket. So thank you, Laura and John, for taking these clips for me. Really, really lovely to see what you picked. But because it is obviously overwhelming picking random colours, she did go for multi-sets. Now, if you've been on my channel before, you know usually I go for individual ones to check that you like them. But because these were so cheap out there, certainly it made more sense to buy them as multi-sets, and it does mean I can give them a go. I do know I love Kuretake. I have never tried the Holbein coloured pencils before, or the Holbein watercolour, I don't think. But I have tried the acrylic gouache. So we've got a little mix here. We have the Holbein Artist Watercolour set of 12, the Kuretake Gansai Tambi 18 colour set, 18 school set of colours for the Acrylic Gouache by Holbein, and then this, which I'm very excited about, this is the Holbein set of 36 colours. I mean, I'm excited by all of these, but I've never tried these and I've had really good things, so I'm going to leave those till last, and let's start with let's do the Kuretake, so we'll do the watercolours first. We'll do Kuretake Gansai Tambi and then the Holbein Artist Watercolour. Now I've got a whole video about Kuretake on my channel, two actually, when I was trying different sets because I also bought the bigger set. But as I said, it's much cheaper out there and there's some colours here that I don't think I have. So I'll leave a link up here if you want to see more or learn more about Kuretake because they're kind of thicker than classic watercolour. They're Gansai Tambi paints. So they're definitely more opaque and they were great for getting me into like the watercolour mode because they're kind of in between gouache and classic traditional watercolour. So let's give these a little swatch as well. So you can see the colours here. There's usually a swatch space in the lid. They're quite small. I think I'll swatch these actually in my sketchbook instead, just so I have a bit more space. But it looks like a really good mix and plenty of greens, which I always love. This one I know I do have the ultramarine pale, really lovely, but I don't have some of these. White's always handy. Yeah, what I really like about these is that you generally don't have to mix your own colours, they're already there to go. So let's do some swatching of these. These are super smooth, I really like the opacity. You can see here you can water them down quite a lot, but you can also use them quite thickly, which is why I found them to be a really good medium between watercolour and gouache. I do have some of these already, but really nice to have these in my collection. As I said, there are definitely colours here that I wouldn't normally go for, which is why I don't usually go for multi-set. But sometimes it's nice to have some random colours, and as I said, this was a mystery art supply haul, so it's really fun to see what my sister picked for me. Some of these greens I probably would tone down, especially this Hooker's Green and the Viridian. It's really bright for me, but I can really see these working in my palette. Okay, so here are the swatches. Now I am swatching this in my Pith Oro Blanco and it's not my favourite paper at all. It's very absorbent, so you can see, especially on the close-up, some of the texture here where it's really sunk in the page. I find this paper too absorbent, especially for watercolour. But you can definitely see the colours there, even though it has sunk in quite a lot. Really nice selection. I love this yellow. It reminds me of the Chinese green near colour that I love. So that's definitely something I feel like would work with some of the greens. And then, yeah, some really nice shades. Purple I don't use much, but it's a really nice base set if you're looking for an 18 colour. Quite a lot of reds and greens and not much variation on the yellows. I'd love to see a warmer yellow in between these two because this one's more of an ochre. But yes, those are the Kuretake Gansai Tambi 18 set. Let's move on to this one next, which is the Holbein Artist Watercolour set of 12. Again, I'm going to presume these are going to have lots of primary colours and then some other ones. Let's see. Oh, nice. Okay. Yes, definitely some brighter colours that I feel like I could mix with. Kind of similar in terms of, I mean, there's less reds, but there's definitely like an ochre and then that bright yellow. This is Holbein, so different brand, but obviously there's set formulas that they have for their base sets. This one is 12 here, and we've got the white as well. Usually you don't see white often in watercolour, but that's really nice to see. So again, I'm going to swatch these out. I might actually switch to my Hannah Mueller sketchbook just because I really don't like how they work in this sketchbook. So let's move to a proper sketchbook paper so I can actually test those out properly. Really lovely, really like it on this paper. I'm really glad I swapped sketchbooks just to swatch these. I also did some colour mixing down here, so although these are too bright for me, I do and have learned a lot about colour theory just by swatching, just by using my watercolour palette, because I do mix in the palette, so I'm mixing more colours, whereas like with the Kuretake I don't have to. But in my watercolour palette I will be doing a whole video with my upgraded watercolour because I've got a bigger size now. So I want to put some of these into the pans, but I also like the idea of mixing up my own colours. So for example, I did that with the green when I first set up my watercolour palette, my little one, so I'll leave a link to that video here. But I really think that I could mix, like this green is really nice that I've mixed from, what did I use? I think I used this red and this green. But yeah, so I definitely think I can use some of these colours and make my own mix. I've seen a lot of people do that as well, so I might try that. But yeah, some really lovely colours, a really nice selection, and also nice to have a white. I know that watercolour purists don't like using white in watercolour, but as a mixed media artist, I generally won't just use watercolour, so I'm totally fine with that anyway. Usually I'd use white gouache, but it's nice to have that Black I don't use often, but it is quite a toned down black I find, and I can mix that with other colours again, maybe with a yellow to make a really dark green. But lots of experimenting to come with those, so really happy with them. I really like that consistency, really easy to add the water, and definitely will get a lot of use out of those. Next up is the acrylic gouache. So this is the set, school set of 18. I'm going to swatch these back in the Oro Blanco because they are acrylic, so they don't need this paper to really be able to show them off. Oh, okay, so this is different tubes to the acrylic gouache I have. Again, I've got a video about acrylic gouache on my channel when I first went to Japan and bought some. I'll leave a link to that up there, but these tubes look very different, which is interesting. They're definitely smaller, quite a nice range. I can really see the rainbow here, it's nice to see. So again, let's do some swatching and I'll let you know what I think. These are really nice. They dry super duper matte, but they can't be reactivated, which is why I really like acrylic gouache. I find that acrylic paint usually dries quite shiny and glossy, and sometimes it's hard to go over. So this is a really great option that I often use for base layers. As I said, I do have a video explaining the differences in a lot more detail, but I really like these. Obviously you can add quite a lot of water to them as well. I find that works nicely, but the result is super opaque, which I really like. So there's quite a range of colours here. Again, they are quite vibrant and they are a little bit neon in places, especially with this yellow and green. Again, I probably use these mixed up rather than as they are, but they do mix beautifully together. I would try maybe this ultramarine with the white just to tone it back a little bit to make a sky blue, and probably mix in some of the orange or red tones with these greens just to tone those back a little bit. So they are very bright. Obviously this is a school sort of primary base set with lots of vibrant colours, but I do think they will mix really nicely. And as a paint, they're beautiful, really lovely consistency, and I really like them. I just probably wouldn't use them straight from the tube like I would some of my other colours that I have from Holbein, where I bought more pastel shades. These ones I think I would mix up. But yes, these are 12mm tubes, so there's still plenty in them. They're just longer and thinner. And yeah, definitely see me using these alongside the colours I already have. And I really love them. I think Holbein is a really great brand, so I'm really happy that my sister picked those up for me. So that is the acrylic gouache. Let's move on to the pencils. Okay, so this is the set of 36. As I said, I've never used Holbein artist coloured pencils, but I have heard that they are similar to the Luminance. These were really reasonably priced, especially in Japan, so if I like these, when I do go back to Japan, I'll probably stock up on more, but I'm excited to see how they compare. I think I will do a whole separate video on these, but I will test them out just to see how they work. I just won't swatch them. So let me know if you'd like a video on that or how I compare them with the Luminance, because I think that would be a whole video in itself. Comes in this lovely sleeve. It does have the foiling as well. And then this metallic tin. You can see my camera setup up there and my mic. Let's open these up. Oh, I know I don't use multi-sets a lot, but I love it when it looks like this. It's so satisfying. It's got a sheet there. And then all these gorgeously arranged pencils. I feel like this one's a bit odd in between the pink and the brown. Doesn't quite go in the rainbow order, but let's give these a go. So I'm just going to swatch a couple of them. There are a huge amount of pencils in this range, lots of different shades. As I said, we've got the 36 set here. Looks like it comes in boxes of 12, 24, 36, 50, 100 and 150. So loads there. There's some also really vibrant neon ones. Lovely colours. So I wonder if I like these, I might buy them individually, maybe next time I go, just to top up the set. Rather than getting a whole new multi-set again, I'd probably just pick and choose. That's generally how I work with art supplies anyway. So let's test these out. I just want to see how they feel. So like I said, I'm not going to swatch these, but I do want to feel how they blend just quickly and see how soft they are on the page. Okay, I'm just going to grab a few random colours. Okay, they don't feel as soft as Luminance to me. Oh, that feels a little bit better when I've sort of blunted it a little bit. Some really nice shades here. At the beginning they feel harder. Let's see how this blends. I don't usually blend. I usually use my pencils as for details. It's definitely getting softer as I blend it together, as I said, without that sharpened edge. Oh yes, that one feels softer. I think these are going to get a lot of use. They definitely feel softer than my polychromos. And there's some really nice shades here. I tend to buy luminants because I really like them, but I also want to be able to compare the shade range. So if I really like these and there's colours in here that I can't get on the luminants, then I'd buy them on these because they do feel nice and soft. I don't think they're as soft as the luminants, but perhaps I just need to do a little bit more research. This one feels softer. So again, perhaps that depends on the pigments. But so satisfying seeing these colours. Let me know if you want a thorough review on these. As I said, I can definitely see myself using these. Again, we've got really bright colours, but I tend to buy my luminants open stock and have built up my collection that way. So I definitely have more colours here than I do in the luminants. But if I want to add to this collection, then I would buy them individually. Yeah, some of these feel much softer. Perhaps it was just the ones that I started with that felt quite hard. They feel, I think they're thinner, so they feel more like the polychromos than they do the luminants. But yeah, really interesting. Absolutely love seeing it like this. And they are lovely coloured pencils. I don't think you can really go wrong with coloured pencils, but really exciting to see them like this. And I want to be careful that I don't keep them precious because I know that can be really easy to do with new art supplies. I want to use them. So I'll keep them out on my desk so I can just reach for them easily. Okay, so that's everything. Here's my very colourful selection of new supplies. A huge thank you to my sister and brother-in-law for getting these and being so open to doing this collab with me, because I did ask her when she was there if she would like to do a mystery art supply set. So really excited to have all these lovely new supplies. Excited to do some colour mixing and to tone down some of these brighter shades. I think that will be really interesting to do. And as I said, maybe a video on the Holbein just to test those out a bit more. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. These brands are available worldwide. They're just cheaper in Japan, which is why I wanted to do this whilst they were there. But you can definitely get Holbein and Kuretake. Maybe not this brand, but everything else I'm pretty sure you can get on Jackson's or other art supply stores. So I hope that's been helpful in terms of seeing what colours are in each of these sets, and a big thank you for watching. A huge thank you to my patrons for their support. Without them, I wouldn't be able to create free videos here on YouTube every week. And again, a thank you to my sister and brother-in-law for transporting these supplies back for me. So I will speak to you all really soon. I'll see you next Sunday in my new YouTube video. See you later.